And now to this, the president claims a Pennsylvania ruling as his own victory tonight. Hours ago, a federal judge found Governor Tom Wolf's coronavirus restrictions are unconstitutional. Thank you for joining us here. I'm Jim Rosenfield. The judge called the restrictions overreaching. Those policies include current gathering restrictions and indoor capacity limits and the stay-at-home order and business closures that were in place a few months ago. At a packed indoor rally in Arizona, the president told a nearly maskless crowd that this ruling, made by a judge he appointed, was a win.
And we just had a great ruling. Doug and I were talking just literally minutes ago. A federal judge, a very prominent, a very respected federal judge, came out and ruled that they can't shut the state down any longer. It's too much. Well, you know what's going to happen. On November 4th, they'll open up everything. They're just doing it. On November 4th, they'll announce everything's open now. You know, we were only kidding. The fact is that November 4th, you're going to see it's going to all open up. It's going to all open up. It's politics.
The Wolf administration says it will appeal this ruling. Until then, what does this all mean? NBC10's Matt DeLucia spoke to a legal expert and also businesses impacted by those restrictions.
The federal judge wrote that the Constitution sets certain lines that must not be crossed, even in an emergency. He says Governor Wolf crossed those lines.
It definitely wasn't fair, and it definitely didn't fit any specific metrics.
Dave MAGROGAN has been trying to keep his restaurants afloat since March. He closed down 2 of them, now employing only about a third of his original staff. The federal judge looked at 3 measures enforced by the state, including restrictions on gatherings, orders to close non-life-sustaining businesses, and the stay-at-home order. Judge William Stickman IV, who was appointed by President Donald Trump, wrote that the measures were undertaken with the good intention of addressing a public health emergency. But even in an emergency, the authority of government is not unfettered.
At the start of this, there was a good intention. I think where we are today, I don't understand how you can tell me that the death rate is this low, that hospitals are back to fully open for elective procedures, and there's only 470 patients in the hospital with COVID in Pennsylvania, and I need to keep my doors at 25%. I don't see any scientific proof for that.
Governor Wolf is expected to appeal the ruling. Hours after it came down, Pennsylvania's health secretary said this.
Anything that limits our ability and the number of tools we have is a challenge to public health.
Dr. Rachel Levine says it's critically important to follow the state's guidelines that were set to stop the spread of the coronavirus.
That was successful in terms of bending the curve and decreasing the amount of new cases. That was noted by Dr. Birx a week or so ago, and how successful that was. So this was with the support of the White House task force.
Michael Moreland teaches law at Villanova. He says from a legal standpoint, everything is still in limbo.
I suspect that the Third Circuit, which is the Court of Appeals that will review this decision, will take a much lighter hand to the government's action here.
Now, the city of Philadelphia has, for the most part, had stricter regulations than the rest of the state. I asked the mayor's office today if they are taking a second look. A spokesperson told me no. In Center City, Matt DeLucia, NBC10 News.